What is going on, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global here, back with another video. In this one, we're going to be talking about really why did the New England Patriots lose their Week 5/Week 6 game against the Denver Broncos. Now, I think this is a game that the majority of people thought that New England was going to win. They were easily the betting favorites to win this game, and all odds, all predictions that I've seen heading up until this game for the multiple weeks that we were waiting to play this game, everybody had the New England Patriots winning this game. I did not see one single analyst saying that the Denver Broncos were going to come out with the W. Now, it's very clear to me that the Patriots defense, as weeks and weeks continue on into this NFL season, the Patriots defense is completely fine. This defense is still elite. It is one of the best in the NFL. The only thing that worries me is one, of course, injuries that they have sustained all around the team. But more specifically on that defensive line, I think that the pass rush still definitely needs help. I think if they can figure out that pass rush, that this defense is going to continue to be unstoppable. But really, they held the Denver Broncos to just continuous field goals. I mean, if you look by quarter, the Denver Broncos, 6 points in the first quarter, I'm sorry, not first half, but 6 points in the first quarter, 6 points in the second quarter, 6 points in the third quarter, and then they were shut out into the fourth. The Patriots, on the other hand, first quarter, 0 points, second quarter, 3 points, third quarter, nothing, fourth quarter, 9 points. I'm sick of saying this, but this is a game that the New England Patriots should have won, but they didn't. I think that this is another week where we have to say that the New England Patriots beat themselves. I don't think this is a situation where the Denver Broncos beat the New England Patriots. I think the New England Patriots beat the New England Patriots. Again, the defense held its own. The defense held its own 2 weeks ago when we played the Kansas City Chiefs. For a second consecutive game, it is the offense that had issues. But I do also understand why this offense had issues. Now, look, in the end, no excuses. This is a game the New England Patriots lost. It came down to the wire in a game that, again, should have been won. This is the Denver Broncos. They're not a great team. I do understand. Phillip Lindsay came back. Drew Lock came back. And those are huge additions for the Denver Broncos as they're returning. But in the end, this is a team that still should have lost and was very close to losing to the Jets. So the fact that the New England Patriots couldn't beat them, it does not help their case. But at the same time, look at what this team has had to go through the past month. But more specifically, because we're going to focus on the Denver Broncos, look at what they have had to endure over the past 2 weeks. You know, you had your Kansas City game that it was already in itself a whirlwind, 24 hours of having to travel. And then you were supposed to play the Denver Broncos the following week. That doesn't happen. You have Stephon Gilmore, your leading cornerback, go down with COVID. That gets moved to Monday. And then you have another player that gets diagnosed with COVID. It gets moved to the following Sunday. They end up taking away your bye week. And then you have another player that comes down with COVID, but the NFL did not decide to switch up the matchup this time. All in all, because of that, because of the many active cases the New England Patriots have had, because they're really trying to make sure that they bite this in the butt. You know, they don't want to be going to practice and potentially further the cases of COVID, whether that's throughout more players, whether that's throughout the coaches. Let's keep in mind that they did place a few players on the COVID reserve list, not because they had COVID, but because they were concerned that they could have potentially been exposed to someone with COVID. You know, Sony Michel, Derek Rivers, Shaq Mason, all guys that it's not that they have COVID. Now, Sony Michel did have COVID, but as for Shaq Mason and Derek Rivers, it's not that they had COVID, but Belichick did not want to take the chance, so he put them on the COVID reserve list. He's going to give them a couple of weeks or whatnot to make sure that if they do have it, it is completely gone, and then he'll bring them back, ultimately just trying to be careful. But because of that, whenever a player would come down with COVID or they weren't sure about potential outbreaks within the facility, they would have to cancel practice, the facility would be shut down, and they wouldn't be able to return for a couple days. Because of that, throughout the 2 weeks that the New England Patriots had planning for the Denver Broncos, the game getting changed, the game getting switched time after time, all the COVID cases, the Patriots practiced twice. Yeah, twice. And I think a lot of people don't get that. A lot of people think that, you know, the Patriots had so much time to prepare for this team. They had like a full 2 weeks. And the thing is, they didn't. Because of all these COVID cases, they weren't able to practice. It was a lot of virtual meetings. They were never able to get on the practice field. 2 total practices. 2 in 2 weeks. And let's remember that Cam Newton also ended up coming back because the game got pushed back for a second time. And he hasn't played with this team ever since before the Kansas City Chiefs game. I also want to note the fact that one of those practices was just a walkthrough to prepare for the Denver Broncos. So essentially, they got one actual practice. And then on the reverse, you have the Denver Broncos who were not dealing with that issue. It might have been frustrating that the game was constantly getting switched, but they didn't have cases of COVID. They did not have to shut down their facility. They were able to practice as much as the coaching staff wanted them to. So they had so much time to prepare for this team. Now, guys, real quick, with football finally being back, we know that at this current time, due to COVID reasons, you are not able to be at a game this year. And a lot of people think that you might not be able to get in on any action with the NFL due to the fact. But you can still get in with all of the NFL action for the 2020 season with BetOnline. Now, BetOnline is going the extra mile to make sure that you get in on everything imaginable for this season. All the way from game spreads and totals to team, player, and coaching props, BetOnline gives you more options to wager than any place online. Now, you can get in on their season opening bonuses today and start off wagering on win, division, and championship futures today. All you got to do is head to BetOnline today and take advantage of all of their great sign-up bonuses. Again, that is BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. Now, something else that I have seen a lot of people say from this Patriots loss to the Denver Broncos. You know, when someone's trying to say, well, let's keep in mind the Patriots only practiced twice, one of which was just a walkthrough in the past 2 weeks. And let's remember that Cam Newton ended up coming back because the game got pushed back for a second week, made him able to have more recovery time, ultimately got to come back. And again, he didn't play since before the Kansas City Chiefs game. And a lot of people use the comeback of, well, the Tennessee Titans have several cases of COVID, but they still won their matchup this past week. And what people don't understand is that over the course of the NFL allowing football to return, because of this whole pandemic, the Tennessee Titans have had more cases than the Patriots? From that span, yes, but as of late, no. And if we're going to talk about this past week, the past 2 weeks, the Tennessee Titans have been able to have more practices than the New England Patriots. So although they have more active cases from the span of the start of the offseason and the NFL season till now, you have to look at the past week or two and put that into play, not the amount of cases in total. Again, all around, this should have been a game that the Patriots won. We can't make excuses. In the end, it's an L. The team is saying it themselves. In the end, you know what? It's a loss. They have to take the L. They're not going to make excuses for it. But COVID really has messed with the Patriots tremendously the past couple of weeks. If COVID wasn't a reason, then the Patriots easily beat the Chiefs. If COVID wasn't a thing, the Patriots would have been able to practice, would have had all their players. They wouldn't have to be scrambling around. They should have beat the Denver Broncos. Let's keep in mind that the Patriots are having to place so many players on the COVID reserve list that they're scrambling to fix this personnel and switching up. More specifically, offensively, looking at the offensive line. Your starting center, David Andrews, he's out. You have Shaq Mason, who is on the COVID reserve list. He's out. So you have your starting right guard and your starting center out. You then had your starting right tackle in Jermaine Illuminor go down in this past game. So the Patriots are scrambling now with their offensive line. In fact, they had certain personnel within the first 2 quarters. They came out in the second half and had different personnel on the offensive line. All in all, it was a just terrible game for the Patriots offensive line. But at the same time, I can understand why. Look at the players you lost. Look at the fact that you haven't been able to practice. You haven't been able to have any chemistry. And guys are being told the day of, this is the position you're playing. Second half, they come out. Okay, we're going to switch you from, let's say right tackle to left tackle, right guard to left guard. I mean, all the way from keeping Cam Newton safe, all the way for run blocking, it was just terrible. And like I always say, an offensive line is like a motor to a car. It's like the engine to a car. If that engine is messed up, it's not working well, your entire car is not going to work out well. It's going to affect many other pieces. All in all, I think this team ultimately will be fine. Just right now, for the past couple of weeks, and who knows how much longer, honestly, because of COVID. It's not a sure thing. They're just going to be going through a rough patch, but know that these players will be able to come back. David Andrews is very close to being able to come back. At some point, Shaq Mason is going to be back. This offensive line is going to be fine. They have good depth behind. It's just, one, not being able to practice, two, so many guys going down, and three, having to scramble last minute to try to figure out which places to put certain guys on. The biggest thing here, the biggest priority in order for the New England Patriots to continue to be an effective team and potentially make it to the postseason, the playoffs, etc., they are going to have to try to contain COVID. You know, I thought that to start the season, the New England Patriots were doing extremely well. Pete Carroll even hit up Bill Belichick to ask him what he's doing so well, to prevent COVID. And it seems like the past couple weeks, the Patriots have just had a crazy outbreak, and they are probably the second worst team right now due to COVID reasons behind the Tennessee Titans. If the Patriots cannot get this under wrap and they are just going to continue to have these issues with COVID, and it's going to be last-minute issues and games are going to have to continue to get switched, they're not going to be able to practice, this is going to be a very, very tough season for the Patriots. But that's going to be it for today's video. Essentially, this is why the New England Patriots lost against the Denver Broncos. I hope this clears some things up. I hope you guys can be a little bit optimistic and understand, where the New England Patriots are from a standpoint, especially offensively. But that's going to be it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on the situation? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to give this video a big, big thumbs up if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. But like always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video.